I got wasted on a business trip and ended up in bed with my boss. I woke up sober in the middle of the night, pulled on my pants, and bolted. Got home at dawn and immediately checked my bank account. An hour later, I had to call him. Felix? Were you satisfied with the VVIP service I ordered for you last night? A long pause, then his signature raspy London accent came through the phone. I was drunk, Tiffany, not an amnesiac. Now get your ass back here and pick me up. Me, picking you up is out of the question. But I can arrange to have you sent off. The company transferred a new boss over from our UK office. Young, rich, and ridiculously handsome. He made all the other guys who used to look like decent, elite professionals seem like absolute trash. After 2 months, it was clear our new boss, Felix Hahn, was low-key in his personal life but extravagant in his work. He quietly solved a year's worth of backlogged problems without anyone noticing. At the quarterly review, our department not only became number 1, but we also got the biggest team bonus. The old-timers who used to whine that guys from abroad are all flash and no substance shut up completely. They started sucking up, trying to buddy up with him however they could. Once they found out Felix was single, the female employees launched a full-scale assault. Take Jessica, for example, unanimously considered the office beauty. Her skirts got shorter and shorter, and when she went to see Felix, she practically sat on his lap to get a signature. But Felix deflected all their advances without breaking a sweat. Half a year later, the women were all dejected and defeated, having given up. One day, they were all gathered in the break room, comparing notes. When they realized none of them had succeeded, a sense of camaraderie formed. After a round of jokes, someone turned to me. If I remember correctly, Tiffany hasn't thrown herself at Felix, has she? What, he's not your type? Felix had a face that was sinfully good-looking. He looked lean in a suit, but you could just tell he was built underneath. Who wouldn't want a piece of that? Besides, with everyone else trying so hard, saying I didn't like him would just make me sound sanctimonious. That's a major workplace taboo, so I quickly defended myself. Of course not. I threw myself into his arms long before you guys ever made a move. He just wasn't biting. When? The whole room was instantly hooked. I thought back. The very first day he started. My high heel got stuck in the elevator gap, and what a coincidence, I fell right into his arms. It was a true story. At the time, Felix had grabbed my waist to steady me, smiling as he told me to be careful. Pfft, that was an accident, they all laughed. I laughed along and confessed, beauty is tempting, but my first love is money. I'm determined to save up $200,000 and retire to my hometown. Heh, what's a man compared to cash? But just as the words left my mouth, the glass door to the break room slid open, and Felix appeared in front of me, phone in hand. I had no idea how long he'd been listening. Tiffany, you're coming on a business trip with me. Here's your chance to make some money. Everyone else, scattered like cockroaches. Felix had been at the company for 6 months, but this was my first business trip with him. Ben, the driver, was waiting downstairs early. When he saw my taxi pull up, he even got out to help me with my luggage. While we were talking, Felix came downstairs, holding a laptop bag and talking on the phone. He handed the bag to me and gestured for me to get in the car first. I got in and settled, and he continued his call for another 2 minutes. Through the car window, I shamelessly checked him out. He really was gorgeous. A perfect build at nearly 6'3", a meticulously styled haircut, a strong nose, and sharp eyes. When he wasn't smiling, he had a stay-away vibe, but when he smiled, he was like a seductive fox. No wonder every woman threw herself at him. I heard some online influencers and actresses were chasing him too. Who would be the lucky one to finally land him? Felix hung up and opened the car door. Our eyes met. He glanced at me once, then again. I sat perfectly still, trying to calm my racing heart to prove I had no ulterior motives. Then I heard him speak. Scoot over. 3 seconds later, I shot to the other side of the car as if my seat were on fire. Oh, right. Sorry. Felix got in and closed the door. As the car started moving, I turned my head to look out the other window, muttering to myself. God, that was so embarrassing. On the way, Felix took 2 more calls before striking up a conversation with me. Are you from Lakeview, Tiffany? I am. Felix smiled, his long fingers tapping a rhythm on his leg. You could just tell they were strong. Lakeview is beautiful. A great place with great people. You been there? As a kid, I'd sometimes go there for the summer to escape the heat. I immediately pictured those ridiculously expensive summer resort communities in the new district of Lakeview. A wave of resentment for the rich washed over me. But that resentment actually helped me calm down. It's a famous summer destination. They've built a lot of new tourist spots in recent years. It's a really nice place to visit. Talking about my hometown, I became a chatterbox. There was a reason I was so fixated on saving up enough to quit and go back. I'll have to visit again sometime. Felix ended the topic and started to briefly go over our work. The task for this trip wasn't huge, but the client was notoriously difficult. Everyone who'd dealt with him before had failed, so this time, Felix had to handle it himself. My skills in breaking new ground weren't exceptional, but I was meticulous with details, which I figured was one of the reasons Felix brought me along. When we finally met the guy, he was just as difficult as they said. A real slippery old shark. If you tried to talk business, he'd pivot to food, stocks, or investments. If you talked terms, he'd lecture you on networking and social etiquette, dropping historical anecdotes. Even my good temper was starting to fray. But Felix stopped me from downing my drink. Mr. Davis, why don't I take you to another club tomorrow? I hear their fish is exceptionally fresh. Sounds great. It's a date, then. After sending off a very drunk Mr. Davis, I stood in the parking lot, fuming. Felix, do you think he's going to sign or not? A fierce light flashed in Felix's eyes for a second, then vanished so quickly I thought I'd imagined it. Oh, he'll sign, he said with a smirk. Or I'll kill him. A shiver went down my spine. I felt like I had just glimpsed a truth not far from death. So much for the gentle and refined gentleman persona. Felix told me to get in the car. We'd both had a bit too much to drink, and the ride was long. Before I knew it, I had fallen asleep. When I woke up, the first thing I saw was Felix with his arms halfway around me, his eyes closed, head bobbing as he dozed off. The moment I moved, his large, powerful-looking hand tightened on my shoulder, as if to keep me from sliding off. I froze, not daring to move. When we finally reached the hotel, before Felix even opened his eyes, I scrambled out of his arms like a gust of wind, tossing a sentence behind me as I bolted from the car. I think I'm going to be sick. I'm heading back to my room first. I didn't dare look back to see the expression on his face. Back in my room, soaking in the bathtub, my head started to clear. I patted my flushed cheeks and tried to reassure myself. What's the big deal about a hug? It's normal. He's a gentleman. Was he supposed to let his female colleague fall onto the floor of the car? There's no way he could like me. I was definitely overthinking it. With that thought, I felt much better about the whole thing. But just as I finished my bath, there was a knock on my hotel room door. Who is it? I asked. After a moment, Felix's deep voice came from outside. It's me. Open the door. Felix, is something wrong? I was just about to go to sleep. He sounded like he was holding back his frustration. Just open the door. I had no choice but to wrap my robe tighter and go open it. I cracked the door open just a sliver. I peeked at him through the gap. Felix, what did you need? You can tell me now. Felix was still in the same clothes from dinner, minus his jacket. His white shirt sleeves were casually rolled up, revealing forearms that radiated raw masculine energy. Annoyed, he took a step back. He put his hands on his hips. Come out. I shook my head. To prevent myself from doing anything indecent to you, it's better if I stay in here. Felix was so exasperated he looked up at the ceiling, patiently trying to reason with a drunk like me. I'd like to see what kind of indecent thing you could possibly do to me. Come out. I was resolute. For the sake of my $200,000, I absolutely cannot offend my boss. Felix lost his patience. He angrily took out a small white box, threw it on the floor in front of my door, and turned to leave. Before he left, he shot a warning at me. You'd better never forget your $200,000. After Felix left, I picked up the white box and saw what it was: hangover medicine. That was actually kind of thoughtful of him. The next morning, looking at the opened box of hangover meds on my nightstand, I thought about the stupid things I'd done and wanted to find a hole to crawl into. I went downstairs and knocked on Felix's door to ask about the day's work plan. Felix opened the door just a crack before turning and walking back inside. His voice, cool and distant, echoed out. Tiffany, if you can't control yourself, you can report to me from the hallway from now on. I sighed in frustration. He was never going to let this go. Pushing the door open a little wider, I slipped inside and closed it behind me. Felix, I brought you some breakfast. I didn't finish my sentence because I was greeted by a sight that made my blood rush. A 6'3" man, with nothing but a towel wrapped around his waist, was standing barefoot by the fridge drinking water. His head was tilted back slightly. A single drop of water traced a path down his long neck, over his prominent Adam's apple, across his powerful chest, and down his toned stomach, disappearing into the edge of the towel. And the man himself seemed completely unaware of how seductive he was. He stopped drinking and turned to look at me. He let out a short, sharp laugh, as if mocking me for having the desire but not the guts. Well? Figured out how you're going to have your wicked way with me yet? And he just had to tease me. My face flushed red, and I quickly looked away. Felix, I was really drunk last night. Go ahead and make fun of me. Felix laughed again, said nothing more, and went into the bedroom to change. I let out a quiet sigh of relief. I really couldn't handle him like this. We didn't go out that morning. Felix had me and another assistant review all the preliminary work from the beginning to check for any oversights. If it wasn't a mistake on our end, then the client had other motives. Felix supervised personally, paying special attention to the penalty clauses and financial items. He had changed into a pair of light gray casual pants and a matching knit sweater. The V-neck offered a generous view of his abs. Yet his demeanor was back to being cool and sophisticated, as if the man in the towel who had teased me this morning was a completely different person. Felix was meticulous when he worked, pointing out even misplaced commas. His level of professionalism was undeniable. The problem was, he was also young, and, well, sexy, and... What are you staring at? Just as I was lost in thought, Felix spoke. I realized I had been staring at his face for a full 3 minutes without moving. I quickly snapped out of it, telling myself this was the age for focusing on making money, not for getting lost in a handsome face. You have a great eye for detail, Felix. I offered a clumsy compliment. Felix leaned back in his chair and relaxed. Draft a new contract with these revisions and send it to Mr. Davis. If he still doesn't sign, we'll just put this on hold for a bit. On hold? I thought this was urgent. I was confused, unable to keep up with Felix's thought process. We sent the contract, but it was met with radio silence. As expected, Mr. Davis was still not satisfied. And when Felix said we'd put it on hold, he meant it. He didn't even schedule dinner with Mr. Davis that evening. The next day, Felix said he was taking me to a private cocktail party. I was mystified, but then at the party, I saw Mr. Davis's boss. After some schmoozing from Felix, Mr. Davis's boss had a very positive and friendly attitude toward our company. My eyes lit up. Was Felix planning to bypass the middleman who was just taking a cut? Ha! When that bald jerk Davis found out, he'd probably lose his mind. I secretly gave Felix a huge thumbs up. That move was pure genius. Hard work pays off. Not only did we land a huge deal, but we also cut out the middleman. This meant we had opened up a whole new, challenging business channel. At the celebratory dinner, Felix took a lot of drinks from me, so, successfully, we both got wasted. On the way back, Felix was walking straight and steady. But once we got in the car, he started trying to snatch the car keys from Ben. Ben, you've worked hard these past few days. Clock out early. I'll drive tonight. Ben looked like he'd seen a ghost. Felix, you've been drinking. You can't drive. Felix turned to me. Did I drink? I answered with a straight face, nope. You drank a memory loss potion. Give me a cup of memory loss potion, I started singing. Ben looked like he had a massive headache on his hands. Back at the hotel, as I walked into the lobby, I heard Felix refusing Ben's offer to see him to his room. Thanks for everything. Go ahead and head home. Felix, are you sure you don't need me to take you up? Ben asked, his face full of concern. Felix shook his head. No need. I know the way. And then, Felix calmly followed me into my room and lay down on my bed. I was drunk too, but I wasn't a messy drunk. I just stared at Felix, speechless. This is my room. Felix looked at me with a perfectly serious expression. I paid for it. I was speechless, suspecting the bastard was faking being drunk. Furious, I went to pull him up. Get up. This is my bed. Felix watched me calmly, not moving an inch. It could also be mine. Me, if you don't get up, I'll have my wicked way with you. Even though he was hammered, his tone, mocking me for having the desire but not the guts, was unchanged. Ha! He scoffed, then slowly added in a tempting voice, go on. I'm not scared of you. Me, deep breath. Deep breath. Did anyone ever tell him not to use reverse psychology on a drunk person? Looking at this perfect combination of innocent college boy and sophisticated gentleman, I lost all control and pounced. Whatever. He asked for it. The moment I lunged, Felix caught me, then immediately flipped the script, pinning me beneath him. In the last second before I passed out, my mind was full of questions. This speed, doesn't it feel like this was premeditated? Like he was just waiting for me to take the bait? I woke up in the middle of the night to a scene of total chaos, clothes strewn across the bed and floor, and a certain victim lying next to me. I pulled on my pants and ran. I got home at dawn and immediately checked my bank account. Staring at the pathetic balance, not even enough to buy a condo, I wanted to cry. The company had a strict no-office romance policy. And my situation was the most serious offense, forcing myself on my boss. Thinking back on my interactions with Felix these past few days, he had been nice to me, but what if he was just nice to everyone? Besides, I'd once overheard him talking about completely destroying some starlet who wouldn't stop chasing him. If he found out what I did to him, he'd probably tell me to pack my things and get the hell out. What should I do? My mind raced, and I actually came up with a brilliant plan. Felix was blackout drunk last night. Maybe he didn't even know who was under him. Even if he had a vague feeling something was off, he had no proof. He couldn't just accuse me, right? With a plan in mind, I had no choice but to call Felix as soon as the sun came up. Felix? Were you satisfied with the VVIP service I ordered for you last night? Silence on the other end. I cleared my throat and continued, here's what happened. You were really drunk last night, and the hotel's VVIP was helping you back to your room, but you wouldn't let go of her hand. Then you forgot your own room's passcode. So I had to put you and the VVIP in my room. Still no sound from the phone. Was he not awake? But the call was clearly connected. I was the one whose back was killing her. Why did he get to sleep in so long? My patience was wearing thin. Felix? Felix, hello? Felix Hahn. This time, there was finally a response. His signature raspy London accent came through. I'm here. You're here? Then say something. What are you, Felixa or Siri? Then Felix said. I was drunk, not an amnesiac, Tiffany. Now get your ass back here and pick me up. I didn't want to hear that. Can he take it back? I took a week off. When I got back to the office, I discovered Felix hadn't returned yet. We hadn't spoken since that phone call. After the initial panic, I felt a sense of relief. Maybe Felix didn't think it was a big deal. That would be great. I snuck into his office, put his car keys in his drawer, and decided to treat the whole incident as an accident that never happened. The perks of the business trip started rolling in. Management praised my performance, saying I had made an outstanding contribution to the company. They also promised me a huge cut of the profits at the end of the year. It slowly dawned on me that Felix had given me all the credit for the deal. On one hand, my conscience was bothering me. On the other hand, I wondered if this was his way of paying me off, treating me like I was actually a VVIP. My mind a mess of conflicting emotions, Felix finally returned from his trip. It turned out that just as he was about to come back, our CEO gave him an urgent assignment, and he had to go abroad. Seeing Felix in the office after all this time, unshaven and tired, felt surreal. Do you feel like Felix is different since he got back from this trip? In the restroom, colleague A and colleague B were musing. Colleague B nodded eagerly. He's more mature. Me, isn't he just more world-weary? Both of them shook their heads at me. You don't get it. This is pure, refined manliness. He definitely has a woman now. As the woman in question, I was thinking, I don't get it. Men are all pigs. Making money is what's real. Once I get my year-end bonus, my savings will be more than halfway there. I'll be one big step closer to retiring back home. Thinking about how close I was to achieving my goal, I decided to let things go with him. But as I walked out of the restroom, a strong arm grabbed me and pulled me into the adjacent mother's room. Ah! Before the scream could escape, my lips were captured by a scent that was both strange and familiar. At the same time, a tall, dark figure pressed against me, trapping me in his embrace. My eyes shot open. It was Felix. I knew he wouldn't let me off the hook. Still, I never expected he would do this at the office, in the mother's room. The more I struggled, the tighter Felix held me. Colleagues walked past outside. I finally managed to shove him away. I couldn't believe that this man, usually so composed and refined, would do something so improper. Then I remembered that wild night, and my face turned red. Right. I was the one who made the first move. What are you doing? We're at work. Felix's reply was completely off topic. I checked. You haven't called me once all this time. You didn't call me either. I was traveling. I didn't have a signal. Wait, are we in a relationship where we have to call each other? My questioning gaze made Felix laugh, but it was a frustrated laugh. So you just use me and toss me aside? Me, don't you dare accuse me of that. You were the one who started it. He was the one who asked for it. I wasn't wrong. Felix's sharp eyes narrowed. So, what was that night? I already explained it to you, Felix. VVIP service. VVIP? Felix ground out the letters, then leaned in close to my ear, his hot breath making my skin tingle. Tiffany, that's not what you said when you were biting my shoulder and whispering, your waist is so slim, Felix. The fragmented memories suddenly exploded in my head. I said something that's stupid? My face turned beet red, and my ears burned. I wished the ground would swallow me whole. Seeing me so flustered, the gloom in Felix's eyes faded, replaced by a hint of a triumphant smile. Remember now? I bit my lip and said nothing, my fingers twisting the hem of my shirt. I cursed myself 1,000 times. Lust is a dangerous thing. Seeing my reaction, Felix stopped teasing me. He tucked a stray strand of hair behind my ear, his tone softening. Wait for me after work. I panicked. If you have something to say it now. I have to work late tonight. Felix raised an eyebrow. You want to discuss the details of the VVIP service right now? I shot him a glare. He instantly backed down. Tiffany, I just want you to know I don't have any bad habits. The only person I sleep with has to be my girlfriend. Me, are you crazy? The company forbids office romance. Felix, just tell me if you'll say yes or no. Me, no way. My 200,000 was almost within reach. What if I risked it all for a man and ended up with nothing? Besides, retiring to my hometown has been my goal for years. Going back home would be great. Life in a small town is less stressful. I'd buy a house, plant a garden, go for a run every morning, eat some fish at night, and not have to slave away. Then I'd find some regular guy. The more I thought about it, the more perfect it sounded. Felix was at a loss. No way. It's not convenient to talk at the office. Wait for me tonight. I gave him a non-committal answer. If I have to work overtime, we can talk some other day. My only strategy now was to stall. I just put it off for as long as I could. Felix took a step back, and I fled the room. But I ran right into Sarah from our department. Huh? Tiffany, why are you coming out of the mother's room? My heart leaped into my throat. Sarah, I accidentally spilled something on my skirt. I just used the hairdryer in there. As I walked away with Sarah, my heart was pounding so hard I thought it would burst. I was terrified Felix would suddenly walk out. Then I'd never be able to explain myself. Halfway through the meeting, Felix slowly walked in. He had changed his clothes. He sat under the dim light of the projector, looking completely distracted. When the meeting ended, he stood up and made an announcement. Tonight, we're having a department dinner to celebrate Tiffany's success. Everyone cheered. Felix was doing this on purpose, just to make sure I couldn't slip away. At the celebration dinner, Felix led the toasts in my honor, and I, successfully, got drunk again. Mike, a guy in our department who had a crush on me, offered to take me home. But Felix stood up, car keys in one hand, suit jacket draped over his other arm. You guys carry on. I'll take her. She gets carsick when she's drunk. Don't want her throwing up on you. In the silent private room, Felix smoothly took me from Mike, nodded goodbye to everyone, and half carried me out the door. He was worried I'd throw up on Mike, but not on him. And by saying that, he was basically announcing to everyone that I had been in his car drunk before, and maybe even puked. Me, pretending to be drunk, he is definitely, absolutely doing this on purpose. On the way, Felix's fingers were tapping on his knee. I knew he was happy. I swallowed my anger and kept pretending to be drunk. As I was about to get out of the car, he grabbed my arm. Wait. Felix took a box out of his pocket and handed it to me. This is for you. I took it, confused. I opened it to find a necklace with a small, exquisitely designed C pendant. I was stunned and quickly tried to push it back. Felix, this is too expensive. I can't accept it. It's a thank you gift from our partner. Don't throw it in the trash. It's not like I can wear it. Seeing his awkward expression, the words of refusal died on my lips. I ended up taking the box. Then thank our partner, and thank you too, Felix. As I turned to leave, he called out to me again. Tiffany, I know you're worried about the company rules, and I know you want to save 200,000 and retire. But I hope you'll give me a chance. I won't affect your work, and I'll help you reach your goal. My heart skipped a beat. I looked up at him. The moonlight filtering through the car window made his face look incredibly sincere. I opened my mouth to say something, but I didn't know what to say. In the end, I just said, I know, Felix. I'll think about it. He smiled, not pushing me further. Okay. Go on up. Be safe. I had only taken a couple of steps when he caught up to me again. "Tiffany." I turned around. He handed me a white box. "Hangover medicine. Take it before you sleep, or you'll have a headache tomorrow." Looking into his gentle eyes, my mind was a mess. I quietly thanked him and went home. Staring at the necklace, my thoughts were even more jumbled. No wonder they ban office romances. They're a huge distraction from making money. In the following days, Felix didn't pressure me, but from the knowing looks and winks from everyone else, it was obvious to the entire office that he treated me differently. If he was scolding someone and I walked by, his voice would instantly soften. He also started bringing me breakfast, though of course, he couldn't just bring it for me. "Tiffany, come here. I brought breakfast for everyone. Can you hand it out?" "Tiffany, come here. I'm treating everyone to coffee. Can you help pass it around?" It got to the point where the women in the office were privately urging me to hold out a little longer, to make Felix chase me for a while so they could enjoy the perks. I would blush and say it wasn't like that my goal was to save my $200,000. The women, are you stupid? If you land Felix, you could make that amount several times over. I didn't have the heart to say it out loud. I want to succeed based on my own merits, not my relationship. One day, a new colleague joined the company, a rich girl named Lily. She was cute and lively, and despite being wealthy, she loved to mix with everyone, so she quickly became popular. She was also very high profile, making it clear she was only here for Felix. Otherwise, a small company like ours wouldn't even be on her radar. Lily also bragged everywhere that her family and Felix's were old family friends. Her desk was right across from mine. She staked her claim in front of everyone. "Tiffany, are you Felix's girlfriend?" I shook my head. Lily said, "Felix is my ideal man. Since you don't like him, I'm going to make my move. You can't be clinging to him from now on, okay?" I frowned. I said I wasn't his girlfriend. When did I ever say I didn't like him? She was a master of twisting words, and she reeked of passive aggression. And she was true to her word. The girl used any work-related excuse to run to Felix's office. I watched it all, feeling a strange bitterness in my heart, but I told myself, "Tiffany, don't overthink it. You and Felix aren't official. It's normal for other people to like him." But damn, it still pissed me off. One day in the break room, Lily got straight to the point. "Tiffany, I heard you slept with Felix on the business trip." I froze, then felt a surge of rage. "Did Felix tell you that?" Lily smirked. "He's tight-lipped. Not like you." With that, she turned and left. When I came out of the break room, I saw Lily sitting in the middle of a group of people. Everyone was staring at me with contempt. I strode into Felix's office. His office had glass walls, so everyone could see inside. Felix was working. He looked up, surprised to see me. I had told him I wanted to keep my distance, to text me if he needed something instead of calling me into his office. Seeing my foul mood, Felix quickly got me a glass of water. "What's wrong?" I was fuming. "Is it shameful to have slept with you?" Felix immediately realized someone had been gossiping. When he wasn't smiling, his sharp eyes were dangerous. He glanced outside, and the cluster of colleagues quickly dispersed. Felix said, "That was my oversight. Don't worry, I'll make sure you get justice." Since he said that, I decided to give him a chance. The next day, at the department meeting, Lily was fluttering around, getting Felix tea and water, being overly attentive. Felix tapped his long fingers on the table. "Lily, you've been with the company for almost a month, right?" Lily beamed. "Felix, you remembered my start date?" I almost forgot it myself. Unfortunately, her happiness lasted all of 3 seconds. Felix threw a stack of documents onto her desk. "Lily, this is some of your file from your previous company. It implicates you in several incidents, including leaking client information, malicious competition, and bribing executives. Your performance here also presents a high risk." I need an explanation. Lily, you investigated me? Felix, standard background check. Lily, so what? As long as I bring profits to the company, that's all that matters. Who has had better results than me this past month? Felix stood up, looking down at her. The company doesn't want short-term gains. We want long-term, win-win partners. You falsify and exaggerate revenue figures. No one in the industry will dare to hire you. I am officially informing you that you've been terminated. Lily's expression was 3 parts hurt and 7 parts ferocious. Felix, how could you be so cruel? It's because I went after Tiffany, isn't it? Lily pointed her finger at me. I looked at her and smiled coldly. I hadn't told anyone that Lily's methods were crude. She had paid 2 thugs to pretend to discuss business with me, planning to drug my drink and ruin my reputation. I saw through it, sent one to jail, and broke the other's leg. Now that Lily had blurted it out herself, Felix was no longer calm. Originally, I was just going to let you resign. Now, it seems necessary for you to explain things at the police station. Felix, our families are friends. What did I do wrong? I just love you, Lily shrieked as she was being led away. Felix said coldly, I've never wanted a passionate gambler. I want a partner who can be honest with me, someone to walk into the grave of marriage with. You don't even have the most basic principles of human decency. How dare you speak of loving or being loved? As she was taken away, Lily's voice was full of resentment. Tiffany, you're only with Felix for his money. How are you any better than me? I smiled. At least I'm open about wanting his money. He's an eligible bachelor, a total catch. Who wouldn't? Lily was gone. Felix's eyes were shining as he looked at me, sparkling like diamonds. After work, Felix took me to dinner at a quiet restaurant. He looked at me and said, I didn't know you studied Taekwondo. Me, 3rd degree black belt. My dad was afraid I'd get beaten up by a future husband, so he forced me to learn when I was a kid. Felix smiled and looked down. I hear domestic abuse goes both ways. I blinked. What are you trying to say? Felix dropped the playful tone. Tiffany, be my girlfriend. His eyes were serious. I know what you're worried about, but I promise you, I'll handle things at the company so you won't be affected at all. And I'll help you reach your $200,000 goal. If you want to retire back home, I can go with you. We can open a flower shop in town and live a quiet life. His words were like a stone dropped into my heart, sending ripples through me. I looked up at him, deeply moved. But what about your job? Gold shines wherever it is, he said with a smile. So, have you agreed to be my girlfriend? I saw the hope in his eyes, thought about how good he had been to me these past few days, and my worries slowly melted away. I finally nodded. Okay, Felix. He broke into a grin, like a kid who just got candy. He took my hands in his, and the warmth from his fingertips spread through me. After we made it official, Felix submitted his resignation before I could. The CEO tried to persuade him to stay. Felix, you're not getting any younger. It's normal to have a girlfriend. You don't have to quit. The CEO even said he could change the company rules for Felix. But Felix insisted on resigning. Mr. Sterling, please let me go. Honestly, wherever she is, my heart is there. I can't focus on work at all. Mr. Sterling sighed and had to accept his resignation. At the end of the year, I received a generous bonus. Looking at my nest egg, I was so close to reaching my goal. Suddenly, I was reluctant to quit. I admit, the idea of early retirement was nice, but I realized that goals are temporary. Now, $200,000 wasn't enough for me. As I became more capable, my ambitions grew. Now I had bigger goals, one of which was to make enough money to support Felix. Felix was unconditionally supportive of my new goal. He helped me analyze my finances and create a career plan. I started calling him my supportive partner. But Felix would wag a finger and correct me. I am your professional VVIP. It's my pleasure to serve you, my dear Mrs. Han. And so, after becoming Mrs. Han, I began a wonderful life of having a professional VVIP for my career by day and providing VVIP services by night. Except, a certain someone was never satisfied. He complained that my service was incomplete and was always trying to get me to upgrade to VVVVIP service. Me, my ass. 5 years later, at the company's annual summary meeting, I went on stage to speak as a department manager. Felix was in the audience as a special guest, his eyes filled with pride. After my speech, it was time for Q&A. Someone asked, "We heard that you and Mr. Han of Far Reach Group were discovered having an office romance, and that's why Mr. Han was forced to resign and founded Far Reach. Is that true?" The room erupted in laughter, and all eyes were on Felix and me. My cheeks burned. How was I supposed to answer that? But Felix stood up and smiled, his gaze steady. I did leave my former company for her, but I wasn't forced. That company had its limits for me, but it was her stage. My leaving was about mutual growth, about meeting each other at the top. Standing beside Tiffany is my honor and my pride. The audience fell silent for a moment, then burst into even louder applause. The CEO came forward, smiling. It seems our company policies do need some flexibility. As long as it doesn't affect work, there's nothing wrong with a little romance. My colleagues all started laughing. After the meeting, everyone came over to congratulate me and ask for my secret to success. I was speechless. The secret was VVIP service, but that was confidential. Later, Felix and I had a grand wedding celebration in my hometown of Lakeview. On our wedding day, the sunlight fell on us, warm and beautiful. I had long since reached my $200,000 goal, but I had found something far more important than money, a sincere love, and a VIP husband who would be with me until we were old. So, you can have love in your career. May everyone meet their own VVIP, and may everyone become their own VVIP.